happened on a night I'll never forget. One of those nights that creeps back into your mind, no matter how hard you try to push it away. I've had plenty of late rides home before, after work, after a party, even after visiting family across town, and most of them blurred together. Just another car, just another driver, just another trip back to safety. But this one was different. This one still makes my stomach twist when I think about it. I remember the time glowing on my phone screen, 12:07 a.m. I was tired, more than tired, drained from a double shift at work. The city streets were nearly empty, the kind of quiet where even the hum of a streetlight feels loud. I stood outside the restaurant where I worked, clutching my jacket tighter around me, scrolling through the Uber app like it was second nature. That's the part that unsettles me most now, how normal it all felt at the start. How casual I was pressing that button, thinking it was just another ride, nothing more. The car pulled up within minutes. A black sedan, older model, headlights cutting across the sidewalk as it rolled to a stop. I stepped forward, checking the license plate, then leaned down when the driver's window slid open. His voice was flat, almost bored. "For Anna?" he asked, and when I nodded, he gave this short grunt like confirmation was enough. I got in, shut the door, clicked my seatbelt, and told myself I was safe. That's what we all do, right? Tell ourselves it's fine, even when some small voice whispers otherwise. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Cheap cologne mixed with the faint must of leather that hadn't been cleaned in too long. The second thing I noticed was the silence. No radio, no music, just the steady drone of the engine as we pulled away from the curb. I tried to shake it off. My mind was foggy with exhaustion, and silence should have been a gift after a long shift. But instead it pressed down on me, heavy and strange, like the car itself was holding its breath. I remember glancing out the window, neon signs flashing by, then fading as we slipped onto darker streets. Houses with their lights out, empty sidewalks. The city that usually buzzed with life felt deserted, and a flicker of unease ran through me. I told myself to check the route, so I pulled up the app. It looked fine. He was taking me the right direction. Still, I couldn't shake the thought. Why the side streets? Almost like he read my mind, the driver muttered, "Less traffic this way." I forced a polite smile, even though I hadn't asked. My phone sat in my hand, and I typed out a quick message to my friend. "Heading home, Uber, be there in 15. My thumb hovered over the send button, and for some reason, I didn't press it. Maybe I didn't want to seem paranoid. Maybe I didn't want to admit, even to myself, that something felt wrong. If I could go back to that moment, I'd hit send. I'd add, "track me," but I didn't. The ride stretched on. Streetlights grew sparser, their glow flickering across the leather seats, casting shadows that seemed to crawl. I shifted uncomfortably, pulling my jacket tighter, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror. That's when I saw it, his eyes, staring back at me, not in a quick, casual glance, but holding, studying. He didn't look away fast enough, and the pit in my stomach grew heavier. I tried to ignore it, looking back down at my phone, scrolling through nothing just to keep my hands busy. But the unease was growing, gnawing at me with every mile. And then, as the silence thickened and the streets outside grew emptier still, his arm shifted. At first, I thought he was adjusting something on the dashboard, maybe fiddling with the radio. But no, the movement was deliberate, slow, his hand reaching back. My breath caught. His fingers stretched just far enough into my space that the air between us shattered. That's the moment I froze. I froze, every muscle in my body locking tight as if stillness alone could make me invisible, could erase the fact that his hand had just entered my space like it belonged there. My throat dried up instantly, words clawing to get out but catching somewhere between fear and disbelief. The car kept moving, the hum of the tires suddenly deafening, and all I could think was, this is really happening. I wanted to scream, I wanted to shove his arm away, but my body wouldn't listen. Have you ever had that happen, where your brain is yelling move but your limbs betray you? That was me. Stuck between terror and rage, heat crawling up my neck even as my hands turned cold. His fingers hovered, brushing just enough against my knee to send a jolt straight through my chest. And then he pulled back like it was nothing, like he hadn't just crossed a line that shattered every ounce of safety I thought I had. My voice came out thin, sharper than I intended. "Don't do that!" He chuckled, low and mocking, eyes flicking to mine in the rearview mirror. "Relax," he said, almost amused. I was just reaching for my coffee. But there was no coffee in the cup holder, and we both knew it. My heart banged against my ribs as I scrambled for my phone, unlocking it with shaking fingers, pretending to scroll. I thought maybe if he saw I was connected, maybe if he believed someone knew where I was, he'd back off. But his voice cut through the silence, casual but heavy. "No phones. Dangerous at night. Distracts the driver." My stomach dropped. I pulled my hand back slowly, forcing a tight smile, pretending to comply while my mind raced. I looked at the locks, red, sealed down. The windows only rolled halfway. I could feel sweat prickling at the back of my neck, even though the air in the car was cold. Every detail etched itself into my mind. The stale cologne, the crack in the dashboard, the way his hand had lingered just a second too long. I tried to speak again, steadier this time, my voice louder. I said, "Don't do that. It's not okay." He didn't answer, just shifted in his seat, his shoulders lifting slightly, and the silence stretched so thin I thought it would snap. I wanted to call 911, but the thought of him seeing me dial froze me again. I thought of my mom, her warnings, thought of my best friend who would have told me to share my location, thought of how stupid I felt for not hitting send on that text earlier. Regret tasted metallic in my mouth. The car slowed at a red light, the empty intersection glowing under a single street lamp. For a second, I considered flinging the door open and running, but the locks clicked stubbornly, mocking me. My hand hovered near the handle anyway, testing, hoping. The light turned green. He drove on. My pulse refused to settle. I forced myself to breathe, to think, to plan. I knew the Uber app had a safety feature, an emergency button, a way to share my trip. But would I have enough time to use it before he noticed? I kept my phone on my lap, screen dim, finger ready. He adjusted the mirror again, his eyes meeting mine with that same too-long stare, and my skin crawled. "You look nervous," he said, almost teasing. "You don't need to be." My laugh came out brittle, shaky, but I forced words through clenched teeth. "Then keep your hands on the wheel." His smile faltered for the first time, small but noticeable. The tension in the car shifted, heavy, like the air had thickened, pressing against me from all sides. He didn't say anything after that, but the silence was worse, a silence that screamed louder than any words. And I sat there, frozen but plotting, waiting for the moment I could break it. Because deep down I knew this wasn't over. The ride stretched on, and every second felt heavier, like the walls of the car were closing in on me. My chest rose and fell too fast, and I could almost hear my heartbeat echoing in the confined space. I kept telling myself to stay calm, to think, but the silence was suffocating. The only sounds were the tires rolling over cracked pavement and the occasional rattle of something loose in the glove box. Then he spoke again, his voice low and offhand, like he was trying to test me. "You don't seem very comfortable back there. I can pull over if you need a break." The way he said it made my stomach knot. Every instinct screamed that stopping wasn't a good option, not on these dark, empty streets where not even a stray dog roamed. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice steady. "No, just get me home." My words clipped, sharp. His eyes flicked up in the rearview mirror, lingering again, that same smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. I gripped my phone tighter, thumb hovering just above the emergency button on the Uber app. My mind ran wild with what-ifs. What if the signal failed? What if he noticed? What if I was too late? The car veered suddenly onto an even narrower road, the kind with no streetlights, just tall trees casting jagged shadows across the pavement. My breath hitched. "This isn't the route," I blurted out, panic leaking into my voice. He chuckled, not even trying to hide it. "Shortcut. Trust me." Those two words, "trust me," felt like a blade. I stared down at my phone, forcing myself to act before fear paralyzed me again. With a quick motion, I pressed and held the emergency button, the one that shared my live location with my chosen contact. A small vibration buzzed in my hand, confirmation. Relief washed over me in a thin wave, but it was fleeting because almost instantly he turned his head slightly, like he sensed something. "What are you doing back there?" His tone sharpened, suspicion lacing every syllable. My throat tightened. I forced a casual laugh, shaky but trying. "Texting my roommate. She waits up for me," a lie but one I hoped sounded true. He grunted, eyes snapping back to the road, and the car lurched forward faster, like he wanted to end the ride quickly, or maybe just end it on his terms. My palms were slick with sweat. I slid my phone partially under my thigh, screen still on, praying whoever got that alert was already awake. The trees blurred past, darkness swallowing everything, and then his arm moved again. This time, not just a brush, but a firm reach back, his hand landing on my leg with deliberate pressure. My body jolted like electricity had surged through me. "Stop!" I shouted, louder than I expected, my voice bouncing against the windows. He laughed, a chilling sound that made my skin crawl. "You're too jumpy." "Calm down!" I shoved his hand off, my entire body trembling, rage finally breaking through the ice of fear. "Touch me again and I swear—" My voice cracked, but the words were out, fierce and sharp. For the first time, his smirk slipped. He muttered something under his breath, too low for me to catch, and his grip on the steering wheel tightened, knuckles white in the glow of the dashboard. The car sped up, engine growling louder as the road wound deeper into nowhere. My mind screamed, run, fight, do something. But all I had was my phone, the locked doors, and my voice. I forced myself to breathe, forced myself to think past the terror. If I froze again, I knew it would be over. So I raised my phone deliberately, screen glowing in the dark, and spoke into the silence with as much strength as I could muster. "They know where I am. If you don't stop this car, the police will." The words hung in the air, heavy, daring him. His jaw clenched, eyes darting to the mirror. For a beat, just one beat, I thought he might actually believe me. Then his lips curled, a grim smile, and he said quietly, almost like a challenge, "We'll see about that." My heart pounded so violently I thought it might crack my ribs, but I forced my chin up and held the glowing screen steady in my hand like a weapon. "They know where I am," I repeated, louder this time, letting each word stab through the stale air of the car. For a second he didn't respond, just kept driving, his profile hard in the dashboard glow. The silence stretched until it felt unbearable. Then he laughed, short, sharp, unnerving. "You think that app is going to save you?" he muttered. His eyes flicked to the mirror, pinning me with a look that made my skin crawl. "Phones lose signal out here." My stomach dropped as I realized how far from the city we'd drifted. The houses were gone, the streetlights fewer, the road nothing but dark asphalt cutting through shadows. But fear only burned hotter, fueling something deeper. "Then you should pray the signal holds," I shot back, surprising myself with the bite in my tone. His hands clenched the steering wheel, knuckles bone white. He pressed the gas harder, the car surging forward until the engine roared. My seatbelt dug into my chest as I gripped the edge of the seat, nails biting the fabric. I knew I had seconds to act, maybe less. He muttered again, low but audible this time. "You girls always think someone's watching out for you." The words dripped with contempt. Heat rose in my face, anger slicing through the terror. "I don't think," I snapped, my voice trembling but fierce. "I know." And with that, I hit the button to call 911 straight from the Uber app, my thumb pressing so hard it hurt. A sharp tone filled the car as the line connected. His head snapped around, eyes wide for the first time, genuine panic flashing across his face. "What the hell are you doing?" he barked, voice cracking. I forced my voice steady, praying the operator could hear me. "This is Anna, late-night Uber, black sedan. License plate ending 325, driver just put his hands on me. We're on Route 47 heading east. Please send help." His hand shot back, trying to grab the phone, but adrenaline made me faster. I twisted, pressing myself against the door, clutching the phone to my chest. "Touch me again and you're done," I screamed, louder than I thought possible. For the first time, his composure shattered. He cursed under his breath, slammed the steering wheel, and swerved violently onto a side road. My head whipped back against the seat, stars bursting in my vision. "You think you can outsmart me?" He spat, his voice ragged now, no longer smooth, no longer in control. My hands shook, but I clung to the phone like a lifeline, repeating into it, "Help me, please, I've shared my location." The line crackled, a calm voice replying faintly, "We've got your signal." "Stay on the line." Relief shot through me like fire, but fear kept its claws deep. He was unraveling, muttering to himself, jerking the wheel like the car was an extension of his anger. And then headlights appeared in the distance, bright, steady, growing closer. Another car. Hope surged in my chest. I didn't care who it was, just the sight of another human felt like salvation. He saw it too. His jaw tightened, his breathing shallow, and then without warning he slammed on the brakes. My body lurched forward, seatbelt choking me as the car screeched to a stop in the middle of the deserted road. His voice came low, venomous. "You say one more word, and I'll make sure no one finds you." My blood ran cold, but under the fear, something else bloomed. A spark of defiance, small but unstoppable. I stared back at his reflection in the mirror, forcing my voice out even though it cracked. "It's too late," I whispered. "They already know." His eyes widened, a flicker of doubt flashing there, and for the first time I saw it. The crack in his control. His eyes flickered with doubt, and for the first time all night, I felt the balance tilt ever so slightly. I clutched that sliver of power, refusing to let it slip away. The headlights from the approaching car grew brighter, the hum of its engine cutting through the tense silence like a lifeline. My phone was still pressed against my chest, the operator's calm voice whispering through the speaker. "Units are on their way. Stay calm. You're not alone." Not alone. Those two words wrapped around me like armor. He muttered another curse, his knuckles white on the wheel, his breathing ragged now, sweat glistening on his temples. The other car slowed as it neared, the driver craning his neck to see why a black sedan sat stalled in the middle of nowhere. My driver's jaw tightened, and suddenly he slammed the car back into gear, lurching us forward violently. I screamed as the tires screeched, gravel spitting from under the wheels. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floorboard, but I could still hear the faint, tinny voice. "Stay with us. Officers are close." He sped down the narrow road, his words frantic now, no longer smooth, no longer controlled. "You ruined everything. Do you have any idea what you've done?" My chest heaved, every nerve on fire, but instead of fear there was clarity. "Yeah," I shot back, voice hoarse but strong. "I stopped you." His head snapped toward me, fury blazing in his eyes, and in that split second of distraction, flashing blue and red lights erupted behind us. My heart soared and seized all at once. Sirens pierced the night, slicing through the darkness like salvation itself. He cursed again, slamming his palm against the steering wheel, accelerating as if he could outrun them. But within seconds, two squad cars flanked us, lights strobing, their engines growling louder. "Pull over, now!" A voice boomed through a loudspeaker. My driver's hands trembled on the wheel, and for a moment I thought he might do something desperate. Instead, with a strangled groan, he swerved to the side, tires screeching as the car shuddered to a halt. My body sagged against the seat, breathless, trembling, the relief so sharp it almost hurt. Doors slammed outside, heavy footsteps pounding toward us. "Hands where we can see them!" Officers shouted, their flashlights flooding the car. He raised his hands reluctantly, muttering under his breath, but the fight had drained out of him. One officer yanked open the driver's door, dragging him out as he spat curses. Another opened mine, their voice softer, urgent. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" My throat tightened as I shook my head, words sticking. "Just scared." My hands shook violently as I clutched my jacket, but the officer's steady presence grounded me. They retrieved my phone from the floor, handing it back gently. "You did the right thing. Sharing your location saved you." Their words cracked something in me, tears spilling before I could stop them. I stumbled out of the car, legs weak, knees threatening to buckle. The night air hit me sharp and cool, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. I watched as they cuffed him, his once cocky grin gone, replaced by a twisted sneer. He tried to speak, to spit some excuse, but the officers ignored him, shoving him into the back of the squad car. The sight sent a shiver through me. Not fear this time, but a strange cocktail of anger and vindication. Another officer approached, their voice kind but firm. "We've had reports about him before. Tonight, you gave us what we needed." My stomach lurched at the thought. How many others had sat where I had, frozen, terrified, unsure if they'd make it out? I hugged myself tighter, whispering, "Not anymore." They offered to drive me home, and I sat in the back of their cruiser, watching the night blur past, the flashing lights fading behind us. My phone buzzed with messages, friends asking if I was okay, the app confirming my trip had ended. But I couldn't bring myself to answer yet. I stared at my reflection in the glass, pale and hollow-eyed, but alive. Alive, because I fought back, because I didn't stay silent. When I finally stepped into my apartment, the world felt both the same and utterly changed. The hum of the fridge, the soft glow of my lamp, all the ordinary pieces of my life looked different now, fragile but precious. I sat on my couch, phone clutched in my hand, and whispered to no one, to everyone, never again. And here's the thing, you think you'll freeze forever, that fear will swallow you whole. But the truth is, sometimes fear is the spark. Sometimes fear is exactly what makes you fight. And I promise you this, I fought, and that night I won.